So today's bake is definitely something I've been nervous to post about because it's surprisingly controversial, and that is a chocolate chip cookie. Now, disclaimer, these are my favorite chocolate chip cookies. They don't need to be your favorites. I'm not claiming that they're the best in any way, shape, or form. This is just how I like my chocolate chip cookie today. So today we're making chocolate chip cookies. Let's get into it. So the first and honestly most important thing that we're going to do in this recipe is cream our butter and sugar. So into a stand mixer, we're going to add a half cup of room temperature unsalted butter, a half cup of sugar, and a half cup of dark brown sugar. Now creamed butter does not look like this, or even this. This is what creamed butter and sugar looks like. It's fluffy and shiny, and both sugars are well incorporated. In general, making sure that your butter and sugar are actually creamed properly will make a huge difference in your baking overall. Now that our sugar and butter are properly creamed, we'll add a room temperature egg and beat again until the mixture has lightened in color. It should really start to resemble cake batter at this point. We'll then add a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. Mix until well combined. Again, the mixture should be very light and fluffy. We'll then add 1 2/3 cups of flour, mixing until only just combined. From this point forward, we want to mix the dough as little as possible to prevent a tough cookie. We'll then add a half cup of chocolate chips, mixing for only about 30 seconds so they get evenly distributed. I highly recommend using these Ghirardelli 72% dark chocolate chips for this recipe, since I think the more bitter dark chocolate really helps to balance out the sugar in the cookie dough. Make sure to scrape down the paddle in your bowl, and that's our cookie dough. Cover with plastic wrap and place in the fridge to chill overnight or for at least 2 hours. It's the next day and it's time to finally bake our cookies. After grabbing the dough from the fridge, we're going to roll about a tablespoon of dough into a ball and place on a parchment-lined or Silpat matte covered baking sheet. I personally prefer my cookies to be on the smaller side, but feel free to adjust to your own taste. Make sure your dough balls have lots of space so they can spread as they bake, and then pop into a 350-degree oven to bake until golden brown and puffed, about 15 minutes. And then last but certainly not least, sprinkle flaky sea salt all over the tops of your still warm cookies. I will happily die on the hill that flaky sea salt on chocolate chip cookies makes a world of difference, so please make sure that you include this finishing touch when making this recipe. Transfer the cookies to a wire rack to cool, and there we have it, my all-time favorite homemade chocolate chip cookies. There is nothing better than the smell of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. Cheers. So good. So let me explain why this is my favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe. Number 1. Has to have flaky sea salt on top. That's what really gives the best balance between the sweetness of the chocolate and the rest of the cookie. Number 2, I just think dark chocolate is a better match for a chocolate chip cookie. I think that the cookie itself is so rich that almost the bitterness of the chocolate, again, like with the salt, really helps to make this a really nicely balanced cookie. Number 3, I like a cakey cookie. I don't really want them to be super spread out and thin and crisp. I want a nice bite where you get a crispy exterior and a fluffy interior. So let me know in the comments how you like your chocolate chip cookie, and let me know if you make this.